Remember that middle school kid in California who was suspended a few months ago for wearing war paint to a local high school football game after an administrator at the middle school caught wind of what he did or saw a photo of it and claimed that he was wearing blackface? Well, his family is suing the school in order to get the suspension removed from his record. And apparently he was banned from attending sporting events at his own school, and the lawsuit says that the suspension may actually hinder his ability to get accepted to different high schools or colleges, which I found odd, but maybe when you're applying to private high schools, they probably factor in the disciplinary record. But I don't think the lawsuit goes far enough. I think they need to be suing for defamation as well and get this kid's college fund paid for. The lawsuit was filed by the Center for American Liberty, which put out this brief video showing a compilation of a bunch of other athletes wearing eye black as war paint, just like the kid. The Center for American Liberty was founded by Harmeet Dillon, who you may be familiar with because she was a regular guest on Tucker Carlson's show. She may still be a regular guest on Fox News. I just don't know because I don't watch Fox News anymore. And I had the pleasure of meeting her back in 2019 at the White House during the social media summit. And they may be doing these lawsuits on a contingency, which means that the plaintiffs don't have to put up any money. The law firm just pays themselves a percentage of the winnings, which, if that's the case, would be fantastic. And speaking of fantastic lawyers, here's a new commercial by Stephen Miller.
Hello, I'm Stephen Miller, founder and president of America First Legal, a charitable foundation dedicated to defending your rights in court. I am here today with an urgent message. America's biggest corporations and universities are illegally discriminating against Americans based on race and sex. These corporations and universities have adopted so-called diversity, equity, and inclusion policies that punish Americans for being white, Asian, or male. If you or a loved one were denied a job, raise, promotion, or professional opportunity as a result of diversity quotas, equity mandates, affirmative action, or other racial preferences, we want to hear from you. Please call us at 1-877-AFL-5454 or go to aflegal.org/hotline. As a nonprofit, all services provided by America First Legal's attorneys are free to our clients.
Yes!
So if you are a victim of bigotry disguised as diversity or equity, please contact us now at 1-877-AFL-5454. That's 1-877-AFL-5454 or aflegal.org/hotline. Racism must be defeated. Thank you.
Well, Stephen just obviously answered my question, which makes me respect him and his law firm even more because engaging in any kind of a lawsuit is extremely expensive. And by them footing the bill on either a contingency basis or being funded by wealthy donors is fantastic. And Stephen, if you're watching, I would recommend suing United Airlines because of this.
How is diversity and diversity targets working into the Aviate Academy?
We have committed that 50% of the class of the classes will be women or people of color. Today, only 19% of our pilots at United Airlines are women or people of color. And by the way, from all the data I've seen, that's the highest of any airline in the country.
It's probably that women don't want to fly planes because male and female spatial and directional awareness and orientation skills are dramatically different on a biological level. A new study just confirmed this obvious fact. Men are better with directions than women, study says. Tell us more, Mr. CEO, how you're discriminating against white people and men.
We have programs one of the things we do is for every job when we do an interview, we require women and people of color to be involved in the interview process, bringing people in early.
They require women and non-white people to be involved in the interview process is an Orwellian way of saying they focus only on interviewing non-whites and women. I mean, what possible downside could there be to focusing on diversity instead of hiring the most qualified applicant? Oh, wait, what's this? Airline close calls happen far more often than previously known. The article goes on to detail the mystery how over the last few years there have been a disturbing increasing number of near accidents by pilot errors and those by the traffic controllers. And let's not forget, it was just last week that a door flew off of a plane, causing Boeing to ground an entire fleet of a particular kind of jet. 171 different Boeing 737 MAX 9 planes because of the incident. And now a headline that you would assume is from the Babylon Bee, making fun of all of this, but it's a real headline from the New York Post and other outlets that are reporting that the FAA, the Federal Aviation Administration, their diversity push now includes focus on hiring people with severe intellectual and psychiatric disabilities. Kind of like the CIA. Remember this recruiting commercial from a few years ago?
I'm a woman of color. I am a mom. I am a cisgender millennial who's been diagnosed with generalized anxiety disorder. I am intersectional.
And the Center for American Liberty and Stephen Miller's America First Legal Foundation are really going to have their work cut out for them because, as this Bloomberg article notes, corporate America promised to hire a lot more people of color. It actually did. The year after Black Lives Matter protests, the S&P 100 added more than 300,000 jobs. 94% went to people of color. And even though this article was originally published in September of last year, it's being circulated again this week and getting noticed. And Mark Cuban, the billionaire owner of the Dallas Mavericks NBA team and one of the hosts on Shark Tank, he's thrilled with the anti-whiteism, saying, with that in mind, 94% of the jobs in the S&P 100, that's the Standard & Poor's 100, the biggest 100 companies, going to people of color sounds about what we ought to expect. It's not evidence, he says, of employers going to especially great lengths to hire minorities or discriminating against white workers or doing anything other than fishing where the fish are. Imagine saying with a straight face that it's not evidence that employers are going to especially great lengths to hire minorities or to discriminate against white people. This idiotic response prompted meme maker The Right to Bear Memes, also known as Grand Old Memes, to come up with this brilliant illustration of Mark Cuban wearing Joy Reid's wig. And recently, Mark Cuban has been unusually vocal in support of DEI, but not just supporting it and promoting it, but also pushing back against critics. And it appears that his case of doth protest too much stems from his white guilt, or rather his once candid honesty about human nature. This is a clip from 10 years ago.
I know I'm prejudiced. I know I'm bigoted in a lot of different ways. You know, and I've said this before, if I see a black kid in a hoodie at night on the other side of the street, bouncing, you know, I'm probably on the same side of the street, I'm probably going to walk to the other side of the street.
Actually, sir, that has less to do with prejudice or bigotry than statistical analysis once you realize that a certain demographic of people are 10 times more likely to engage in violent crime than other demographics. And so when being close vicinity to one on a late night city street, certain precautions may be wise. Something I detail in my new book, The War on Conservatives, which you should order in paperback from Amazon.com or click the link in the description below because there are only so many things that I can get into and YouTube videos and on social media platforms. And I like to approach these hot button topics with a little more care and write a very detailed and thorough analysis of them instead of just talking about them off the top of my head, which will be less likely to get me into trouble. So order The War on Conservatives in paperback from Amazon.com or click the link in the description below and check it out.